Today, I'm going to talk a bit about selling DSPs, both how to position them and how to evaluate them. First, a little background on me. I worked in ad tech sales for the past 8 years. First at a company called Zaxxas, where I sold programmatic media buying and managed services exclusively. And for the past 5+ years, I worked at Basis, which is formerly known as Centro. So for those of you who are not familiar, programmatic is really just an automated way of buying digital media ads across the web. And it's really just one form of buying paid digital media. So I'm talking about ads that you might see on Hulu, Disney+, Netflix, Washington Post, Spotify ads, basically anywhere outside of the search platforms, so mainly Google, Amazon, as well as the social platforms. So think Meta, TikTok, Pinterest, LinkedIn, Snapchat, etc. Now, why would you buy programmatic when you have search and social? There's a couple of different reasons. One is to extend your reach outside of the walled gardens, so you're not exclusively relying on what they're called walled gardens. You're not able to export that data to be able to own that customer relationships. Programmatic allows that to happen. The other reason why is targeting. So at some of these search and social platforms, they've severely limited the ability to do audience targeting. You are able to continue to do programmatic audience targeting, so honing in on exactly who you're trying to reach. Right, so if you're an advertiser, let's say you are in the B2B space, you may want to target somebody based on their job profession or what industry they work in. Let's say you're a retailer, you may want to target somebody based on their shopper patterns. Programmatic makes all of that possible. The other reason why is because you're able to track performance on a one-to-one basis. So if you serve an advertisement to somebody online, you're able to track whether that person took an action after you served that ad or not. There are performance-based advertisers, which are ones that are looking to drive actions. So think any e-commerce site is typically a lower funnel focused or direct response advertiser because they're looking to drive actions online after they serve an ad to somebody. And then there's branding-based, which are advertisers that are looking to drive awareness. Today, what I'll focus on is the key factors in how you determine both what sort of programmatic buying partner to use and whether you should buy in-house versus whether you should use a managed service solution. The main factor is experience. So whether you have employees on your team that have previously bought programmatic in-house before with hands-on keyboard, or whether you don't have that experience. And in a scenario where you don't have experience, do you have the resources? Because the reality is you're definitely going to need to dedicate at least 1 or 2 people to programmatic in order to execute in-house. Otherwise, you might want to consider a managed service solution, which is just partnering with a programmatic buyer who's going to do it on your behalf. If you end up going with the self-service solution, you're typically looking at a platform contract, which is a long-term contract where you are agreeing to license their platform for an extended period of time. Alternatively, if you go with a managed service solution, typically what you're looking at is on a campaign by campaign basis, utilizing an insertion order, which outlines all of the details of the individual campaign. How do you choose which programmatic partner to use? Of course, it depends on whether you're going with managed service or whether you're going with self-service. And so the key things to look for when you're evaluating various DSPs are this. Number 1, differentiation. So most things in programmatic DSPs are commoditized. So things like ad formats, things like partnerships, targeting options, those are all typically commoditized. So you're going to have a hard time finding something that is truly unique about targeting that an individual partner can do or a site that they can run on. The exceptions, of course, are really anybody who has an owned and operated inventory source. So if they actually own the data, if they actually own the inventory, in that scenario, typically they close it off to the rest of the ecosystem. There are some exceptions like Roku. It is a great way to access the internet, but most of these features are available for every major demand-side platform. So what factors do you take into account then? Now, we already talked about one of them, which is, are they independent or do they have an owned and operated set of inventory and data? Now, it may sound like it's great that they have their own owned and operated inventory. And on the one hand, that's true. You're able to utilize their platform to access inventory that you're not able to access otherwise. However, if they have an owned and operated inventory, they may be more susceptible to being biased with which inventory that you purchase. You don't want your demand side platform to care whether you're buying from them, what they own, or whether you're buying from across various other websites. Because at the end of the day, you want to deliver the best results possible. The other factors to take into account are things such as reporting capabilities, ease of use, longevity. Most of you are probably aware that MediaMath had gone under last year. And so it is important to note that the partner that you're working with, that's unlikely to happen, right? The next thing to take into account is onboarding and training. What's important to note about onboarding training is that not everybody provides you with a dedicated customer support. And typically, a lot of times what we see is that in order to get a dedicated customer success manager, you will have to spend a certain threshold. If you have no minimum spends on your contract, chances are your customer support will be pooled. The other thing to take into account is flexibility. And so we talked about the two options. There's the managed service solution where if you don't have the resources, and then there's the self-service solution when you do have the resources. However, what about those that fit in the middle? People that currently don't have the skills, but do have the resources and perhaps would like to bring this in-house, but maybe are not equipped to do it today. In that scenario, you would look for a hybrid option. So I work at Basis, and one of the solutions that we make available is what is called Path to Self-Service. What that means is that you will both get access to our platform as well as a dedicated buyer who will act as an extension of your team to trade in your instance while we train you on bringing this in-house over a course of 6 months. That's not the most common partnership model, but it's something to keep an eye out for if you are evaluating various solutions. Now, what's important to note when it comes to the managed service partner to use is what is the objective of the campaign? What sort of format are you most interested in using? And what sort of audience are you looking to reach? There are DSPs which specialize in certain areas, certain verticals, because they have unique capabilities in that area. Now, the reality is that, like I said, most DSPs have access to every major format and all of the same data partners. Now, when it comes to the act of buying a DSP, there are several factors that are really important. You really need a change agent. So when you are going from one way of buying, which is managed services, to actually licensing the DSP in-house with hands-on keyboard, that's a different buying model. And you are typically buying on behalf of your client if you're an agency, or you're buying yourself if you are a direct advertiser. So when you are going to be talking about a DSP, those are some of the factors to take into account. How long do I have to, what is my contract length? What is included in the contract? What are we getting charged for? Some DSPs charge for training and onboarding, and other DSPs do not. So it's a good question to ask when you are evaluating various DSPs to choose. The other really important thing is dedicated customer support and onboarding. The reality is that no matter what, when you're onboarding a new piece of software, there are gonna be some hiccups. And so it's very important that the partner that you're working with has an option to get quick access to customer support. You don't want to run into an issue and not hear back for 24 hours. This is an area that we at Basis really hang our hats on. We provide every one of our customers, regardless of spend level, with a dedicated customer success manager. We have a very extensive onboarding team, which includes both on-demand online training as well as one-on-one virtual training. And we will train any team member that needs it. However, not everybody provides that level of customer support. So it's important to ask that question before you sign a contract. The next thing to note is, if you are going to be the change agent within your organization, who are the various other stakeholders that are going to have to make a decision on? And so there are ways that you can actually make the case to your boss from a financial standpoint. You can actually calculate the financial benefits that you will receive by bringing this sort of service in-house. There are also tertiary value in with providing more services to clients, having more control over your campaigns, more insight, more transparency. All of those factors are key benefits. The last thing that I'll mention is post-sale. Now, this is a hard thing to judge when you're evaluating various DSPs, but look for that evidence that shows that you're likely going to perform. Now, performance could mean that you are driving acquisitions or efficient cost of acquisitions. It could mean an efficient cost per click, which are the key types of KPIs that are still most common in programmatic, or it could mean the branding metrics. The other thing that's very important is those secondary metrics to look at. Things like, what sites did I run on, right? Are we running where we said we're running, where our partner said that we were gonna run? One of my clients have said, hey, I thought that I was running in the connected TV on the television screen. But then when it actually came down to it and they looked at reporting, they were running in sometimes in-banner video. Now there was a big difference in quality and value between in-banner video and the actual television screen. You have to be careful with this. Some partners will take advantage of the fact that with programmatic, it's not like buying it in a direct IO, and so it can sometimes be easier to hide the formats that are actually being run. Very important that you keep a close eye on reporting. Also equally important, do we get a full list of sites that we ran on? Or are we only able to see the top 10 or top 20? I would recommend always making sure that you get the full 100% list of sites that you ran across to make sure that you're not running in any non-brand safe environment. Finally, it's important to note that in order to have a great customer experience, you should be working with somebody who is a domain expert. And so somebody that's been there, done that, that's actually had hands-on keyboard in the past, that has experience, because you don't want to be working with somebody who has less experience than you. Like I said, I work at Basis. All of our customer success managers, all of our onboarding team have extensive experience. So rest assured, you will get your full dedicated support when you work with Basis. All of our account executives are also assigned to all of their accounts indefinitely. It's not a situation where you end up closing a deal and you never hear from your account executive again. That's not the way we roll. Thank you so much for watching. Please feel free to reach out if there's anything that we can help with at Basis for digital media buying purposes. We also do search and social if you need support in either of those areas. My book is coming out early fall. It's called Top Seller, How to Crush Your B2B Sales Quota. Thank you so much for everybody who voted. It was a very difficult process, but I feel like I've landed at a good place, and I feel that the name is highly representative of the content of the book. Can't wait for you guys to read it. Please feel free to sign up for my waitlist at andrewbarbuto.com, and I look forward to giving you as an update as soon as it is available. Thanks so much.